Hey, welcome everybody to the Open Web Foundry number 6, our deep dive number 3. Um, we're going to be doing these every Wednesday, as you may know by now. Today we have Dojima Network, and these are actually alumni from one of our previous Open Web Foundries, and they're going to talk to you about building decentralized communities. And then remember that we also do our community spotlights every Friday. So we're going to be having another one this Friday. And if anybody within the ecosystem is interested in presenting their idea, what they're working on, even if it's not really in the MVP stage, it's still in the idea stage, we'd love to have you, just so everybody in the ecosystem can see and provide feedback and all those sorts of things. But without further ado, here's Akil and Bagath, who are going to be presenting a little bit about Dojima Network and a little bit about how to get started with building your community. Hey,
Welcome
Akil.
everyone. Hi Jessica. Thanks for inviting us over. Welcome everyone. Today we're going to deep dive into building decentralized communities, and for better understanding, take a look at community building strategies being deployed by Dojima Network for expanding the cross-chain platform. Let's get into it without any delay. So the opinions and data of users online make up the new gold of 21st century, and companies worldwide are engaged in battle for control over it. The blockchain market is one of the most affected by the opinions of the community. It is the crypto community that chooses trends for each upcoming season, and to reach new development stage, projects and their founders must take into account the opinions and desire of society. So decentralized organizations allow work to be distributed to community members rather than being driven entirely by top-down hierarchy of decisions. While tokens financially coordinate participants to contribute value to the network, grassroots community leadership and ownership make the long-term success of a token network possible. We can think of a community building process as a funnel of stages that takes potential members from community discovery stage to ongoing active participation. Let's take a look at each of those stages. Early on in the token network, much of your focus should be on generating awareness to attract community participants. This effort may include community branding and communications, content creation and media publications, retroactive token distributions and airdrops, collaborations and partnerships with other relevant communities, one-on-one external outreach with potentially relevant contributors. The next step in the community building process is to build relationships with new community members to cultivate minimum viable contributors. Once community members are engaged, we need to understand what they want to achieve and then guide them towards their goals to achieve minimum viable participation. Participation can come organically in the form of simple introduce yourself or I want to contribute in community channels like Discord and Telegram. And initiatives like grants are more useful for those who want to contribute but don't know how or where to start. The grant program identifies the work to be done and minimizes the coordination overhead for those who want to participate directly. So community events such as hackathons, panel discussions, and community teleconferences could increase the engagement of community members with the project. So everyone wants to be active in community governance from the start, but the reality is that community members are only likely to develop ownership once they become familiar with the community and invest enough time and energy. Once community members are fully engaged in the community, your next goal is to create an environment where community members can safely express their voice and sense of ownership. This may include opportunities to influence and participate in important community discussions, decisions, and key forums. So the key here is to ensure that community members feel heard and feel empowered to have a real impact on the future direction of the community. So being able to foster this sense of ownership is key to retaining key community contributors and participants. So while building a community, the goal is to primarily attract intrinsically motivated community members rather than for purely extrinsic reasons. Intrinsically motivated network participants are driven by intrinsic reasons such as alignment with the program's mission or even other personal and professional goals. Intrinsically motivated community members form strong communities that maintain their participation even in the face of monetary uncertainty on the upside. Whereas extrinsically motivated network participants are typically driven by external rewards, such as financial gain or attention, and are often optimized for short term self reward. Extrinsically motivated community members form the basis of weak communities and drive out other more intrinsically motivated participants. This is particularly common in bull markets where you notice an influx of extrinsically motivated people into your communication channels driven by token price movements. The biggest mistake projects make here is over marketing around token incentives, such as token liquidity mining programs or price changes, which attracts the attention of primarily extrinsically driven participants. While people are often motivated by a variety of reasons, the goal here is to be community centric in order to attract and retain long term intrinsically driven participants. Now, let's take a look at a few of the strategies being employed at Dojima Network while building a community for its cross chain platform. At Dojima Network, we're trying to create a cross chain infrastructure that is able to connect blockchains that are completely different in the underlying architecture. And on top of it, we're trying to build a platform that enables users and developers from all the blockchains to meet at one place, and thus creating a decentralized cross-chain ecosystem. So we're directly building a multi-sided platform. Business model of a multi-sided platform is the core for value creation and value capture in crypto. So community building and expansion is one of the last steps in organization building. Let's take a look at the complete life cycle from the start until the community is built in an organization with Dojima Network as an example. The first step in building a decentralized solution is the founding team, which is capable enough to build a decentralized product. We build the initial team, design the architecture, and manage to bring together initial components required for MVP and demoed it on Arweave's Open Web Foundry and formed a few partnerships with profit sharing communities in the Arweave ecosystem. And then we had investors step in and provide financial capital. Now, the combination of MVP and capital provides some initial value for the token. Now, once the token value exists, then that creates powerful incentive for miners and validators to provide some of their computational resources and hardware that actually give the platform its security and functionality. Then once the functionality exists, then there's an incentive for third-party developers to build useful applications, which in turn actually offer utility to end users. And eventually, as a result, a community begins to form that reinforces the original vision behind the protocol. The main thing we need to focus on here is bringing in third-party developers and building a community. Let's take a look at a few of the strategies we are implementing at Dojima Network to get them on board. So onboarding developers is one of the most important steps while creating a platform. So at Dojima Network, we provide developers the ability to create decentralized cross-chain applications, connecting completely different blockchain networks where novel applications can be developed on the cross-chain infrastructure we are building. But there will always be a chicken and egg problem in case of multi-sided platforms like ours. So how do we onboard the initial set of developers? So for that, we will be developing initial tools to make the development and deployment of cross-chain decentralized applications very simple and also create easy walkthroughs and tutorials. Also, we will be running hackathons every month. We'll be running these hackathons, partnering with computer clubs and colleges, and also on a global scale on Gitcoin. And we have a set budget from our fund just for this purpose, with top 3 teams winning prizes and grants every month. Along with that, we'll be supporting remaining teams with tokens and onboarding as many teams as possible. And one more thing users take a look at while using a platform is liquidity. We're implementing various mechanisms to onboard liquidity into Dojima. Let's take a look at a few of them. Firstly, we're designing a cross-chain dApp store and building interface contracts for all the major protocols on all chains with cross-chain functionality inbuilt into them, allowing easy transfer of liquidity into Dojima. We're also designing a cross-chain wallet with easy functionality to transfer, swap, and cross-chain protocol interaction, mainly with easy functions to onboard liquidity into Dojima chain. Dojima Network is the middle ground where all the chains meet. Thus, we set up secondary marketplaces for derivatives, tokens, NFTs of all the chains to flow into Dojima. Also, one area where majority of the liquidity resides currently is in lending applications. Until now, liquidity farming is done between different protocols on the same chain based on which protocol provides greater yield. Now, Dojima Network allows liquidity farming to be done between different chains, and thus all of this liquidity could flow into Dojima. So also incentive engineering can be done on the interface contracts we deploy on every chain, and also protocols deployed on Dojima to enable more liquidity to flow into Dojima. Now, coming to users, initial users will be onboarded from the strategies we're implementing for onboarding developers and onboarding liquidity, like hackathons, bounties, tools like DApp Store, cross-chain wallet, and onboarding applications from third-party developers. We'll be deploying cross-chain liquidity farms and integrate them with large existing players, creating incentives for users to participate in them. We'll be deploying tools for easy cross-chain transfer and exchange to form strategic partnerships with existing decentralized exchanges on each chain. And one more major market to target is liquidity providers of lending protocols. We'll be creating the secondary cross-chain liquidity and collateral exchange platforms on the middle ground of Dojima. Liquidity providers would participate in them since there exists an arbitrage opportunity due to discrepancies in interest rate on different chains. One more important strategy for onboarding users is to develop micro economies within limited communities. So there are many use cases possible here, like NFTs for events and memberships, tokens for each group in a community, and use cases surrounding them. We'll be testing these use cases in few places and develop a strong model around it during our test phase. So community is a long-term process. It's one thing to create temporary attention, but it's another to cultivate meaningful networks of relationship and rally an entire community to contribute their time and energy over time. To build an audience, you need to be able to get people's attention, but to cultivate a community, you need to create something that people are willing to invest their time, energy, and effort in. We're still in the early stages of understanding how to properly build and leverage the power of decentralized organizations. Your community is is the future of your decentralized network. If you haven't started yet, the best time to start is today. For more updates on Dojima Network, follow us on Twitter at the rate of Dojima Network. Nice catching up with whoever that's present here today, and good luck with your community building. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys. That was excellent. If anybody has any questions for the Dojima team, especially in regards to building a decentralized community and how to manage that properly, especially when you have an ecosystem of people who are all working and building on different things, we're going to come down into the audience now and have a mingle session. So we'll see you guys down there.